We are
No,
live.
remember.
Nope.
You want to just
Nope.
wait. You don't want to say
no.
we're live right away.
Just Andy, just no. Ah. This is Literary Roadhouse. One short story once a week. I'm Gerald.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Anise.
And this week we've gone back to Carve magazine. Hurrah! But something a bit different from Carve this week. It's an interesting, slightly magical little story called Huevos, Estrellados by Vanessa, Bernice de la Cruz. Excuse the pronunciation if it's wrong. If you haven't read the story, pause the podcast, go read the story, come back. It's a good deal less than 2,000 words. Won't take you long to read it. We're in a diner with a young woman and her father, and the memories and the food she orders takes her back into memories, into her younger days. But then those memories become pseudo-real, and the author describes the process of the daughter becoming younger and then becoming a child again. When they finish their breakfast, they float across to a park where yet more memories are rekindled before she remembers. There's a lot of memories here. Before she remembers she needs to get to work at a diner. And although she's between 5 and 8 years old, she takes her place in the kitchen and begins cooking food for the customers. The end.
Okay. Did you touch on the fact that she and the dad are estranged? I feel like that's an important. It's okay. We're gonna discuss the story, and that will come out. They're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard in this story she and the dad are estranged.
Very nice. Andy, what did you think of the story?
Man, I really liked it, but I'm having a real hard time articulating why I liked it. It was
That's exactly what I've just said to Anise. Are you pulling my leg here?
No, I am not pulling your leg. I'm being completely what's the word for not facetious?
Yeah.
Honest?
Yeah. I'm very rarely
up.
that one. Mostly I'm facetious, so I have trouble remembering.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It was very nice. It's a very nice stoce
And normally nice can be a little bit sort of critical as well, can't it? Things are nice. But it's a good story. And I don't know why. It's crazy. It's good. It's a good story. It's well written. It's got interesting stuff happening. It's got floating people.
Yeah.
So can you check the topography?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
I will go ahead. I will take that go ahead and I will run with it. Gerald, normally you're like resistant to like, magical realism kind of fantasy.
Yes, a little. And I have, since the start of the podcast, I've had problems with magical realism because I haven't really been exposed to it much before the podcast. But I'm going with it. I'm running with it, and I can appreciate the story for what it is, and just you say, okay, yeah, she becomes younger and smaller, and then they float around a bit, and it's like. Yeah, I don't know why, but I can now appreciate it more than I used to.
Okay. I was gonna ask. Oh yeah, I'm the opposite, right? I don't really like it, but I can't articulate why. I can articulate all the things that are technically good. I don't mean as a slight, like actually technically good. I mean, I think I can. I was thinking about it as I was getting ready for this, like why I don't like it. And it's just very personal to me, and also. So there's a lot of stories that explore the way that relationships between parents and their kids become a bit estranged after divorce. There's a lot of that. And I don't have personal experience with that, but I've read stories about it. And because this one lacks so much specificity, I think for me as a reader, it feels like, oh, one more. Right? Like I think if it would have explored more specifically what happened to this father and daughter, or and to have some comment about it's kind of like the difference between saying, oh, here's a happy couple and they're very close and they do everything together and you just tell someone that, or you have a story that's a romance. It's about how they fell in love and how that bond came together. Right. So I guess for me, like, it's just like they're estranged because of this divorce and everything that came after with no specifics. Or very few specifics. There's like a few, like she didn't talk to him for a few months and she was a rebellious teen. That's kind of it. Right. So it's like, I think that makes me feel like, okay, like it doesn't grip me in an emotional way.
I think that's for me, that's one of the good things, because it doesn't do specifics. It's not saying exactly what happened, and the way that she shows the relationship, that there's more silence. How is this person? How is that? Oh, that's good. That's nice. And so they try to make conversation, but it's difficult and it's strained. And I think I got a real sense of these two people who are related, but have very, very little in common other than the fact that they are blood related, and their lives have moved on. And I think it just shows that so well in that difficult conversation, and the fact that they order that more or less the same sort of thing, and she orders the same thing that he used to cook her, but he doesn't recognize that. He doesn't respond to that. So there's no softness. It's a real gap between them. There's a big chasm between these two people that I'm sure feel like they have to feel like they're forced to be together and forced to be nice to each other, but actually they'd probably rather not.
Mm-hmm. Andy, do you think that's why you liked it? Has he articulated why you like it?
No, I think I liked it for a similar but different reason. But similarly, in that it's not specific to those. I don't want to read the story about how they became estranged. That seems like a mean story about bad things. And this was sort of not nice, like dad and the kid reconnect after so many years. That's a different nice story. But like sort of just like, we're family and we're estranged, but we're both here. And like, hey, we remember things. They were good. And
yes,
right.
And I think it's probably because I have a daughter, and we're not estranged, but we don't. And whenever we connect, we get on really well together. But actually, we are two very different people and have very different lives. So we sometimes converse, but not often. So I can see how taking it a step further, where there's very little contact, and if there's no effort put on either side, that this gap between you will open up, and you just can't connect again, because especially in the situation where there's been a breakup of the family, and that seems to have affected the main character quite badly.
Yeah.
And like, what can they connect over is, memories, right?
Yeah.
When before the family broke up, when we weren't estranged.
And that's a sadness, isn't it? Because it brings back the memories of happier times when you'd make breakfast together, and you have a stronger bond, and it seems like that bond is broken there between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Gerald. About, I guess to me they didn't feel. I don't know how to explain it. They felt real in the sense that I believe these characters exist, but I believe these characters exist because in these sort of soft shapes of who they are, with that lack of specificity, yes, I've seen them before, so it's benefiting from that, right? Where when you don't get too specific, it makes it sometimes a little bit easier to believe that that person exists. But because I've seen them before, I feel like I've seen them before so many times, right? There's a lot of stories about divorce, right? I've seen them so often that it just feels like one more for me as a reader. And to your point where you were saying you kind of related a little bit to your relationship with your daughter, I think that was a little bit what happened to me too, like reading a story in 2021. And so I'm not estranged from my parents, from my dad or my mom. But as you guys both know, over time, the subject of taboo things to talk about keeps growing and growing and growing. And I'll sometimes look at the Reddit's, QAnon casualties and be like, these people understand me. It's basically like the children of people who like got sucked up into QAnon stuff, and they're just like, they are completely different. So I guess I'm reading this and I'm just like, oh, how did this estrangement happen? Was it Q? Was it... Right? Because that's the story that I want to read. I know that one. Yeah. Maybe I need to write that one because I'm just like, I don't think people understand until you're on the inside. Oh.
No, that's probably a slightly different story, but also could be told that it's and you've especially where you're not estranged, so you are still tied into the family and still related and still do things as a family, but there's you see this growing number of subjects that you can't bring up over the dinner table because
so many
you're just
like I didn't have to used to edit myself as much talking to my parents, and now I do, right? Like just like I'm about to say something and I'm like bringing the word back in, just like like that's new. I love that story. But again, that's not this author's story. I'm not saying she disappointed me by not writing this story. And if her parents didn't get sucked into Q stuff, good.
Yes,
that is
good for them.
An unequivocally good thing. That is good. That is a good thing. But I think that's it. I think it's yes, I believe these characters totally exist because I've seen them so many times, and I think that's it. It just felt for me as a reader, who I guess has read quite a bit, like okay. So I didn't hate it because it does a lot of things well. The way the magical realism comes in, it's got that nice sort of like there's that moment where you're like, is she talking figuratively when she looks at herself and says she's smaller? Is she feeling smaller? Is it real? And then she confirms it by having other people look, like they can see it, like, okay, it's actually real. So like that nice aspect of magical realism where you're not sure, like, is this all metaphor or is this like, okay, no, it's literal. So like she did that part well. Yeah. And one way that these characters aren't necessarily being sharply drawn, and that's a choice, right? To keep them a little bit more
fuzzy
is when the main character's name is main character. That's the name.
I think it's quite interesting that that the waitress brings her a colouring book because now she and just accepts that now she's a little girl and she wants a colouring book and I like the fact that with the hash browns came a miracle. And the clock ticked 11:11. So there's a definite point at which everything changed, and I quite like that
at the same time, right? The Freaky Friday magic moment. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's still really difficult to say, but I think because of that, because it shows a difficult relationship. Yeah, we've seen these before, but I like that lack of specificity, and I like the fact that it's drawn in sort of in memory and anecdotes, that sort of thing, and the way that she shows how different they are. And there's a bit when they go to the park as well that shows that's the. Yeah, and that she's changing. The clothes keep changing. Yeah.
I think also just worth noting, structurally speaking, this works because it's a rather short story, right? In a slightly longer short story, this would maybe start to wear on me more than this did, but no, right? For a little bite of some fuzzy characters, just doing some of the forms, like that's nice.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think the fuzziness of the character as a choice is necessarily a bad one. They still feel real. It's just for me, having read a lot of this stuff, I'm like, okay, like that's all. It's just, yeah. I'm like, okay, can you do it again? But this time with Q.
Also, I did some research while we were discussing, and Huevos Estrellados are fried eggs with a runny yolk.
Yeah.
So, just important. That's why you need the potatoes.
Yes. That's why you need the potatoes.
For the runny yolk.
Yeah.
Yeah, was there something, some rubbish program on telly last night, but there was like a little cook-off between people, and they had to make huevos rancheros.
I make those all the time.
Hash browns underneath and stuff. Do you?
It's so easy because, like, if I want to do a really quick meal, we're good.
Making hash browns? Oh man,
No.
hash browns are always too much work.
And you don't always have to make the hash browns. You could also just put them on tortillas. So I just put them on corn tortillas.
Oh,
That's the
really?
hack. Hack number 1. Hack number 2, you get the salsa already ready to go. You either made it yourself in a big batch, or if you're me, the Paul Newman, the black bean one is really nice on eggs. Super easy. You got tortillas, you got the Paul Newman black bean salsa, and the eggs. You just fry them real quick. Always hits
Yeah,
the spot.
that's
Wow.
smart. See, because like I like me a
That's a
hash
hack.
brown, but gosh, shredding a potato is such a
And the frozen ones aren't great.
no.
No.
Well,
No, I remember a time a couple of years ago before I got fat or fatter that I used to go once a week to McDonald's for breakfast. Yeah, sausage McMuffin and hash browns.
we should get back to the story, but since you
Oh,
mentioned
sorry.
it, there is this place in downtown Lansing here named Goodfellas that does bagels, and they have this one that tastes just like the sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin at McDonald's. Tastes just like it, except all the ingredients are way better for you, and it's on a delicious bagel. I don't know how they did it, but they hacked it. It's
What?
perfect.
A bagel that tastes like
Yeah,
McMuffin.
it's perfection.
Is that
Okay.
like the standard of Lansing? It's like, oh, we finally Lansing.
They've been working on it for decades.
We're as good as McDonald's.
There's other restaurants. I'm just saying it hits that spot.
Lansing,
They also-
downtown Lansing.
They also have other bagel sandwiches there that are very good, and they're all like Goodfellas themed, like Cosa Nostra, the Made Man, the Hit Man. Like it's all.
Yeah. Hey, you know who else has that kind of stuff? New York City.
I know, but that's why that's why it matters to me, because I'm coming from New York, coming over here, and I very snobly came and was like, "There are no good bagels in Michigan," and that's mostly true,
In
with a few
Michigan.
exceptions
The state.
in the entire state.
Nope,
No,
that's
Don't
true.
exist.
How could there be?
How could
This
that be?
place is doing a good job. So there's another deli place that has a pretty good bagel
Okay,
selection.
good. So there's one place to eat in Lansing. This has been Annie's Lansing Report.
Yeah. For bagels, there's other stuff that's good. There's a lot of like shawarma places here that are amazing.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
What shawarma?
Midwest
I
is
don't
rich
know.
in that. Okay.
What's that? What's shawarma?
Is it what makes it a shawarma? Is it the way that they cut the meat and the seasoning that they use?
I think it's the seasoning because shawarma like curry is one of those things where I assume British people found out what one food's name was and was like, all right, those are all curries. So all those are all shawarmas, but they're like, a dozen different culinary experiences.
It is also the cut. Yeah, it's kind of like in Arab cuisine when they have it like when the meat's like in a cone shape and it's thinly
Yeah,
sliced
like a
and then they
gyro.
shape it. Yeah, that and then you can do it with different kinds of meat. There's this one place that has this chicken shawarma. Oh my god. Anyway, and it's also the spices because it tastes different from the kebab chicken.
Mhm.
So they do a little both.
Right.
All right, we're way off story, but the story is less than 2,000 words, so it's kind of hard to pull more from.
I think so. I think so.
We
I think,
didn't
and it's
talk-
only got two characters in it, apart from a waitress.
Well,
and
there's the waitress.
there's a waitress who brings a colouring book, so that's all right.
I like the waitress is my age, prettier, I think, but prettier. They correct it thinner, like a little correction. What I really mean is thinner. Yeah.
And what is it with women who thinks thinner is better?
It's not our fault. It's in the media everywhere. Like,
I suppose, yeah, because if you're not thinner, therefore you're piling on the pounds, or something. Yes, that's true.
some internet culture stuff around like thickness has broadened the definition of what can be considered hot, but it still doesn't go. There's still a lot of fat shaming, fat phobia out there. It's not fixed. It's just broadened a little bit. Now you can have booty. So just broadened a little bit.
And sometimes you can have extra booty injected into you, which is
These days, it's real sexy to have extra thick corneas. Anyway,
some might say anyway.
some might say. Our listeners are confused now, but
Yeah,
That's all right. They
That's
should
all
get
right.
some thick corneas.
they should get
Yeah.
very thick.
just consider it
That's
magical
what the table
realism podcast. We go off into flights of fancy.
So, I don't know. Anise, do you like it anymore? The story after hearing how Gerald and I like it.
I think overall, I'm still a bit, and it's gonna sound so heartless. I'm still overall shrug to another fuzzy story about how much divorce sucks. I know that sounds horrible, but it's just there's a lot of them. You know,
Well,
like there's just
I've
a lot.
said very similar things before. What did I
Yeah.
say? I said something about that nice man who called us out on Twitter.
Oh yes.
Oh
with
yeah,
with the
yeah.
concentration
That's right.
camp
You were done with stories about fascism bad. That's what you had said.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, that's me. Okay, divorce bad. Yep. Got it. But I guess it has gone up a point because I did remember tiny little moments of things that were done well, little tiny, like the kind of Freaky Friday thing. We both bit in at the same time. It was 11:11. I caught it. I made a wish. Like little things like that. I was like a little, you know how she like randomly capitalized words that suddenly have significance. That's for some reason felt a little too modern for my taste. It was fine, but I was just like, okay.
You know what I like
restaurants
about
that do that.
Wow.
Now that I think of it, what I really like about the story was that after breakfast was done, she didn't like revert back to a adult again. She's like, "Well, okay, I got to go on with my life. I'm 8 now."
Gotta get at my job.
Yeah.
Cooking up here. There's one bit when they're in the park and he tells her about the horses he rode as a kid before he crossed and how he'd ride them without a saddle.
Cross into the US, the border.
For Mexico.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, of course. Right. Yes, it's
you're not from here. It's a thing.
Yeah,
here.
it's a whole different.
No,
all Americans know what that means.
Yeah, that's good. Good, thank you. That's understandable. Yeah. Okay.
Well, now you guys might have a word because of Brexit. What are you going to call them? People cross your borders now.
We have lots of words for them. We have lots of words for them.
Well, haven't they all been crossing the border the other way? And that's the problem.
Well, they crossed the border.
Like,
yes, they crossed the border the other way because we made it an unpleasant place for them to live suddenly. But now it's not the Europeans; it's people from the Middle East, Syria, and Iraq, and places like that are coming through Europe to get to us. And I was like, why are they coming to us? Because they speak English. Because we colonized the world and everybody speaks English. But now they can't. Well, they've never been able to come in. They shouldn't have been coming in illegally, but they have been doing. So we did Brexit. So we took back control of our borders, except that we didn't because they're still coming in illegally. And it's up to the French to stop them. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, we going to war with France? Is that going to be a thing? That would be
fun. Well, there's
we're way off topic.
We're fighting over the fish because the fish, they're our fish. Don't get your hands off our fish, you French people.
And I could use like around 700 of that.
Really?
England and France. Yeah, you guys haven't been going at it for a while.
No.
Churn that up again.
Yeah,
it's a circle.
And and we're talking about putting naval ships to escort our fishing convoys.
That's smart.
Which point you think
we should do that?
Hang on, no, that's not good. And the best thing, just very quickly. So we got all these. We got 1,000 people in a week, I think, coming across the channel on inflatable boats and ribs and things, and it's hellishly dangerous. It's very, very busy shipping lane. Tides and all sorts, and the people who are trafficking them take the money and go. But apparently, we were looking at ways to shoo the boats back, and they were thinking about making a wave machine. So when they got halfway, we could.
Zany. This is really.
What? Just.
Is your country run by Wile E. Coyote? I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, the great thing is that the politicians were saying, well, maybe there must be some way we can get them to, get them to go back. And the people out on the boats, the border control, say, "No, we're not going to do that because they'll drown, and we're not going to drown people. So no,
That would kill them.
we won't do that."
What if we release more carbon and we just let nature drown them? What?
Yeah, maybe.
As everyone
Yeah,
knows,
it'll
the only
be-
way to stop a bad guy with a fish is a good guy with a torpedo. That's what we've all
Also, is the queen dead? Like, what's up with that?
Oh,
No, she's not dead. She's
Have
90.
you seen her?
Personally, no, but I've seen pictures of her, and I've seen a picture of her on a Zoom meeting. So she's all over Zoom.
that's a deep fake.
Yes,
can do
yes,
that
it
now.
probably is. It probably is. So
All
yeah,
I've
that
heard about the Queen recently is that they made her scale back her fourth and nightly martini of the day. Why does she still go this hard? Why is she having 4 regular martinis?
that's
Yes.
nonsense.
She's
Who
the
said
queen.
that she doesn't have martinis? What are you on about?
I will find the evidence where I heard about this, and they're saying because of her age, she needs to scale back on the martinis. Why is she going this hard? She's in her 90s.
She's
Nobody
the
drinks
queen
martinis here.
of the world.
The
As far
royals
as
aren't
she's
normal
concerned.
people. The royals aren't normal. They drink
If you're the
martinis.
queen of the world, you can have as many martinis as you want.
Yeah, look at them right now.
Yeah.
If I look up Queen of England martinis, I'm gonna get 1 million hits.
Are you really?
Yes.
Martinis.
Yeah. From just last month. While the Queen most enjoys her drink in private, she does it in the evenings, and the palace stores have confirmed that she enjoys a dry martini, which is a favorite of Prince Charles. Okay. And also the Queen Elizabeth from People magazine advised to stop drinking a daily martini. This was the advice her doctors gave her. They go hard. And if you've watched The Crown, you won't be surprised they go hard.
What? I haven't watched The Crown, but I know they're well into various other things.
We're not talking about the story at all.
I'm not talking about Prince
We
Andrew.
did talk about the story. It's a short story.
It is very short. Yeah, we didn't talk too much about like the immigrant part of it too much, but it also feels fuzzy, that part. Just like the divorce
Right.
part feels fuzzy, the immigrant part feels fuzzy. So
Is the immigrant part important?
As
think it's
important as the divorce, I'd say.
Would you?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh man, they're not eating sunny side up eggs.
I think it puts a little bit more of a divide also between the father and daughter because they had very different childhoods growing up. They have very different experiences, right? He's always reminding her of words in the mother tongue. Like
Right.
there's already
Right.
an estrangement that comes from being different generations around in immigration, right? You didn't go to the same high school. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and the fact that she has huevos estrellados instead of fried eggs, I can see, and I bet the order she takes at the diner is for fried eggs, unless it's a Mexican restaurant, of course. But
Well, maybe
Yeah.
it could be, but it's very 50 style. It feels like a very American diner to me.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you should probably.
Those are everywhere. Those do also exist in Michigan, but the Jersey ones just feel more authentic. You can feel the grease everywhere. That's how you know. That's how you know you're an authentic.
Feel the grease everywhere in
Yeah.
your hair and the,
And those little paper placemats that have all the local business classifieds on it.
Yep.
That's how you know. That's how you know.
Okay.
Anyway, so so I do think the immigration part's important. That's actually something I never even really thought about too much. Like my parents, my mom came over when she was 15, my dad was 7. So he has more memories in the area that he grew up in, which is also the area kind of close-ish to where I grew up. So there was a little bit more overlap. Like he had some stories of like, oh, here's a stupid thing we did as teens under this overpass. Here's a stupid thing, right? Like he has some stories locally where my mom less so. At 15, some, but not as much. Coming over here, my boyfriend's family, I think is the entire population of Michigan. I'm not sure, but they've colonized the entire state,
Well,
and they just
just central Michigan.
Well, no, the mom's side was really from up north, and they used to swim in Lake Superior, which is never warm enough.
Oh, that's crazy. That's the crazy
See?
lake.
That's real Michigan stuff.
that's hardcore
Pure
Michigan.
What?
Pure Michigan.
Pure
Yes,
Michigan. Yes,
'cause
it's
that's
pure
the-
Michigan. The tourism
Michigan.
slogan. Yeah.
That's what the license
yeah,
would
but-
say.
Yeah, but he has stories of like when he was in high school, some teacher there was like, "Oh, I remember you when your dad was here. What his
Oh,
nickname was? He was on the wrestling team." Like, yeah, like that kind of stuff that I think American families that have been here longer sort of take for granted. Like you had the same teacher as your parents had. They're just much older now. You don't get that with the immigrant experience, so it's a bit more estranged. Okay. She's probably not written bareback or been eaten by a bunch of ants. Yeah. No. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Man, I should assign a number score to this story, though, huh?
Yeah, that's an idea, actually. You might do that.
I feel harsh coming in at a 3, but that's how I feel. Like, okay. It didn't really move me. I still have fun discussing it, but that's also just kind of the podcast sometimes. And like I have fun talking with you guys about it. And it's good though. Like technically it's there's this story. Yeah, it does its job in very few words. And I think if you are a child of divorce, it might hit that emotional note. It might be a little more resonant than it is for me. Yeah.
I'm gonna go 4.5, which I think is a fair. I enjoyed it. I read it for enjoyment, and I enjoyed it. No bells and whistles and fireworks and stuff, but I really enjoyed it. So 4.5 is good.
Yeah, I'm gonna, despite being on the opposite side of this divide where Annie hates it and thinks it's garbage, and I love it and it's the best. I think I'm gonna give it a 4. I think it's nice.
So a fake disagreement. I'm coming in at a 3. You're coming in at a 4.
Well, it's that much nicer than a 3, right? That's the divide.
So your rating scheme is non-linear. Then you got it like
right, it's an exponential growth between 3 and 4.
It has to be so much better,
right?
Okay, as long as we know.
Mm-hmm. And for those who are new to the podcast, it's 1 to 6, but it's kind of really 1 to 5. What we really mean is it's kind of 1 to 5, but then if you were really screaming from the hills and you think everyone needs to read the story, that's a 6.
Yeah.
So pretty much that's what it's come out. Over time, that's kind of the rubric.
Yeah.
Okay. So Andy, what are we reading next week? Huh?
We don't give a lot of 1s though, huh?
Only Rami was brave enough to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, if he didn't like something, he really didn't like it. Just saw no point in reading it and begrudged the waste of time.
He gave a story a 1 once because technically it had words.
Would have given it a 0, but for
he
the
didn't
words.
ask. He was like, can I give a 0? Can you give a 0? You know what? I'll give it a 1 because technically it had words. That was his rating. I forget what story it was, but he was mad. He hated everything about it. Anytime we said anything positive, he would just shake his head.
He did not like it. Sometime when I got nothing to do, I'm going to do a big spreadsheet of all the stories, 220 of them, and what the scores we put were for them. And go back through
that way you can put like by genre and stuff, and then you can summarize it by genre and see the average and see if it changes.
Ooh.
It'd be super easy.
And what's that software again?
Grist, the company I work at.
I know.
Yeah, thanks for the plug, Gerald. Yes, Grist.
Grist. That's GRIST, is it?
GRIST. That's right.
That sounds great software.
Number 1 product of the day, Product Hunt, November 12th. Go check it out. I'm on a video there.
So it must be good then.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like a Homestuck joke. Don't they have grist in Homestuck?
They do? I don't remember.
I bet the people who named this company are nerds.
Yeah. Different kinds of nerds. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, the whole company.
We're reading a story.
We're all nerds there.
Are we?
Yeah, it's called The Ghost Bird by Karen Russell.
Awesome. Ghost Birds by Karen Russell. But before you go, share your nostalgic breakfast in our Facebook discussion group, the Literary Roadhouse Readers. Perhaps the narrator's father would talk to her if she left an iTunes review about this podcast. It's just a theory I have, okay? Help the narrator discover this podcast by leaving a review on iTunes and contributing to our podcast expenses at patreon.com/literary roadhouse. Every bit helps. I always say that really quickly, but I have someone helping me edit, and I'd like to be able to give him like little Christmas bonuses and stuff because he's doing it for free. So it'd be great if you guys could help support our actual editor. Yeah. And as always, he's going to hear this when he edits this episode. This is my secret. Okay. Surprise. He's not going to get to this one before Christmas.
No.
Okay. As always, share this podcast with the Guayabera wearing paternal figure in your life. Until next time, read a good story.
Hey, I had to look that word up. Oh, she's gone. I think she made a mistake there. Wow.
Well, fair enough.
Guayabero or something. Is she?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, I did the wrong short key.